afternoon.
We do this in the morning, so it throws us off. But good
Yes.
afternoon.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Talk with Alison and Kelly, and we are professional counselors in the Lakewood area.
Yes.
And this morning, we thought this afternoon, I need some more coffee. We are going to be discussing anger. We've been seeing that come up within our practices and how that's really just showing up more and more. How have you seen that, Kelly?
Yeah, I mean, anger has definitely been a theme lately, and it makes sense. Like, I think anytime you have this cumulative, ongoing stress, it can absolutely impact that fight or flight response. Our nervous systems are very much operating out of that fight, flight, freeze on a much more ongoing basis than we're used to. And just that normal biological response when we're faced with an ongoing threat, oftentimes for many of us, the instinct is to fight, to engage kind of that system that wants to activate us into motion and create change and all of that. So we're seeing a lot of that come out as anger. I don't know, what are your thoughts? Would you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that. And I know a lot of Christians that I work with that anger is associated with something shameful or something bad or something negative, like it's bad when I'm mad. And I just want to say that anger is a God-given emotion, and we are literally designed, what you were talking about, the fight, flight, or freeze survival response. When we feel threatened, we either shut down, run away, or gear up to fight. And that might not be a physical, violent, aggressive fight, but the fight could just be that anger that comes to the surface. And so many of us have been raised in a household where that's bad, and we don't express that. Or we had parents that easily accessed that rage, and it really affected us. And so we just thought it was important to share with you guys. And Jesus felt anger, and it's not bad if you have anger or these intense emotions come up, but it's really how we express it. And we'd like to, it's kind of complex, isn't it, Kelly? Anger, there's so much going on underneath that it's not always what it seems. And we can be left after we've felt very angry, very confused, or like, what was that about? Or if you are around somebody that's, you've been the receiving end of anger, it can be confusing because it's a dominating emotion. It can be a scary emotion.
It's a dominating emotion. Yes. And I think that's, from my end, just in terms of what I'm seeing a lot in my office, is I get a lot of clients who have been on the receiving end of specifically one person in the system that's kind of been dominating with their anger. That can have a real devastating impact on kind of psychological development and just, I think, personal development. I think one of the things I would want to speak to is when we're in a system in which everybody is primed to accommodate and kind of massage one person's feelings, needs, or opinions, kind of manage their anger, that can have a real detrimental impact. And so what we often see is that people who live in a system like that, where that's an ongoing pattern, I see a couple different things. I think one, I see kind of a loss of self, a loss of even being able to identify what are my wants, feelings, and needs, because they're so busy trying to accommodate the other person's. And so that can happen in marriage relationships, that can happen in dating relationships, friend relationships, and parent-child relationships. And that's something to pay attention to. How much effort and energy am I expanding trying to manage and accommodate another person's anger? I think, we talked a little bit about the iceberg theory, I think, with anger. Like, anger is the expression of something that flows much deeper. And I think if we can think about anger as the top of the iceberg, but underneath is kind of these feelings, thoughts, and motivations that are very much driving the expression of anger. And so in order for anger to be used responsibly in a system, it takes everybody being responsible to understanding what is driving their specific anger, and just the self-awareness of that.
So well said. I love the iceberg illustration, because anger is what we can see on top, and it's really just what's poking out. That is everyone can see, but then there's just so much going on underneath, and that's the unaccessible or unknown feelings, thoughts, needs, motivations of the person displaying the anger. But then we have this whole family system sometimes that's accommodating, and they're not able to access their own feelings, thoughts, and needs because the anger is so dominating. And then, like you said, it can just have really detrimental, devastating effects on the individuals and the development, but also the relationships, as we really well know, is, like you said, the relationships. It can be really hard to know how to repair that.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say too, like, I think it, again, in terms of some of the effects on the people living within that system, you oftentimes see a hyper responsibility kind of kick in, like this feeling that they are responsible to manage things that are very much not theirs to manage. So you either have this hyper responsibility that carries through kind of throughout the lifetime, or you have what we term a learned helplessness, where they learn nothing they say or do can change the system because the anger is so controlling, it's so dominating, it's so unpredictable. And so it's kind of this pullback in effect where, you kind of see a demeanor of what's the point? Like, like why even, voice. And so very much this internalized set of needs and yeah, just a person's everything that makes up a person.
Yeah. Extremely detrimental, right? For the people around that are receiving. It can certainly jack us up to be very hyper responsibility and take responsibility for things that are not ours. So if you're watching this and you're a recipient of someone's anger, it's not your responsibility to make them feel better. Anger, the person displaying the anger, that's their responsibility, no matter the fallout, no matter what. And it's important for people watching this, if you are the person struggling with anger and rage, to know that it is your responsibility, and you're having a really hard time accessing everything underneath that anger and rage. Like maybe you were just never given permission to, you don't know how, that wasn't modeled for you by your own parents. And I think it needs to be said in our culture that male anger has been extremely socially acceptable and socialized. And a lot of women, especially in Christian culture, it's unacceptable for women to show rage. And it just makes more sense, or is more well received, of sometimes men get really angry. And just a reminder, we all get angry. That's okay. It's okay for us to all be angry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that men and women, children alike. I think neurologically, so if you think about your brain, we have all these neurons in there. And if neurons that fire together, so someone cuts you off in traffic, anger, that's the most easily accessible emotion. The more you have these neurological connections, they say neurons that fire together wire together, and it ends up looking like a wheelbarrow rut that you cannot get out of. And the more you have this short circuit of a reaction, something that happens, a threat, that biological threat that makes you feel like you have to fight, it's a short circuit. And you can find yourself feeling like, I didn't mean to do that, or I wish I didn't, or feeling really shameful about it. And if you are a person dealing with rage, we don't want you to be watching this feeling a lot of shame. You already know probably that it's not healthy for the people in your family or for you to express it in a way that is negative. So what I want to say to you, if you're a person dealing with rage or anger, and it's coming out in these really negative, unhealthy, toxic ways, is the only way to stop that rapid fire short circuit is to become more self-aware and slowing down and thinking about what are the patterns, what are the areas where I just iceberg. It's just anger, but there's so much underneath. And that takes some effort and time to become self-aware and to slow down. And oftentimes you will need someone else to help you recognize that, so that you can slow down in the moment and take a deep breath, or verbalize, I'm feeling really angry or stressed or out of control or scared.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
we need to destigmatize men feeling a lot of other emotions that women are allowed to feel.
Oh, Alison. Yes. I think that's all so well said. And I think, yeah, like you said, there's no need to villainize, I think, people who do struggle with anger and rage. There are people who very much do abuse, that. But then there's a whole other camp of people that just don't know any better. Like, this is like what learned behavior. They just don't know another way. And I think just to validate that group of people and recognize, like a lot of times, especially men, weren't brought up in systems that really provided room for a wide expression of feelings and emotions. Anger was the most accessible, welcomed one. And so, I love the idea of really even honing in on the idea that self-understanding is the key, I think, to really getting a hold of the anger. Even beyond breathing techniques and all those different coping skills,
Right.
Really diving in to understand, what is driving this? What are those conscious and subconscious driving mechanisms contributing to it?
What you were saying, the feelings, wants, needs, and motivations.
Yes.
And so if you are somebody that really struggles with taming that beast of anger, this is a red flag for you, a red flag. Certainly we're not saying, oh, you have permission. Like, we're saying anger is okay, but we need to learn how to use it responsibly and express it in ways that don't hurt people around us. And if you're watching this, I just feel led to say that it's not the people's job around you to help you with that. You can ask for help, certainly with a therapist or a mentor or a good friend or a group of people in the church at Westwoods that know about this. So pay attention to those red flag warnings, because all emotions are information about our feelings, wants, and needs.
Yes.
So they are trying to tell us something that we need to become curious about when we're not feeling the emotion.
Brilliant. Good.
Well,
I think
we'll see you all. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks. By no means is this all inclusive about anger, just some of our thoughts that we wanted to share. So
have a good day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
And then we leave a couple seconds. It's hard to gauge how much 7 seconds is, but that feels right.